Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of February 15th, 2026. The theme of this week is end of days, and there are three big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that on Tuesday, we'll have a solar eclipse at 28 degrees of Aquarius. These are intensified new moons. The sun, moon, and earth are all lined up, and the moon essentially cuts off the signal between the sun and the earth. I always like to think about eclipses are like changing the channel on a television or a radio station. Once the signal changes, you cannot go back to the previous channel. We are being pulled forward into a new story. Imagine being someone back in the day before they knew what was happening. The sky just appears to go dark. You can't see the sun in the middle of the day. The emotional response and release that would be happening. These are intensified emotional periods. Now, we can see the stories of the eclipse seasons coming weeks in advance. Astrologers have different ideas of when. I think 6 weeks before is when you really start to see things happening. And the events they correlate with tend to feel fated or unavoidable. This eclipse is in Aquarius, a fixed air sign that rules groups, organizations, communities, friends, technology, networks, and the future itself. It's very much about the collective, about what happens when people come together. And people can come together for good things, social cohesion, or bad things to start a ruckus. And sometimes a ruckus is good trouble. But we also may be seeing themes about when systems or ideals are under stress and pressure. There are a lot of group stories that we are aware of right now. The people of Minnesota who have come together to protect their communities after murders of multiple people. The monks who did the peace walk and they arrived in Washington, D.C. on the day that Venus entered Pisces, a sign of peace. Venus brings blessing. And on their journey, everybody who came into contact with them felt like they were being blessed. The revolutionaries in Iran who are continuing to try to fight for freedom from government oppression. The people of Gaza who have undergone unbelievable suffering over the last couple of years because of Hamas's attack and are on the verge of being displaced from their homeland so that the rich and powerful can build fancy hotels. Mardi Gras is going to be happening on Tuesday. The Chinese New Year, the Olympics, there are all these people gathering together. I'm also keeping my eye on groypers or a story about them to make news. Eclipses open this new 6-month chapter. 3 months in, there'll be something that is coming to a crescendo, and then a new story starts. I want people to be very aware of their surroundings for the next several weeks. The big transit of this eclipse is that it is square Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. It's the planet of disruption, upheavals, sudden change, shock, and awakenings. When Uranus is involved, things don't unfold quietly or politely. I personally have stocked up just in case there's something like a grid outage where power goes out. This is a wake-up call for us globally. There are people around the globe who are having serious consequences because they're in these files. Whereas in the United States, the government is trying to tamp it down. Well, certain people in the government, others are demanding accountability. Pay attention to when the sun squares Uranus. That happens before the eclipse. The sun represents leaders, visibility, and authority figures. The sun spotlights, focuses us in on things, and Aquarius is a group. So notice if there's tensions around leadership of an organization. Some organization gets rid of a leader. Public figures are going to be in focus. We're seeing a lot of off with their heads energy, which is also in line with Uranus being at 27 Taurus, conjunct the fixed star Algol, the beheading star that has associations with the Medusa myth and Lilith, who would not be subservient. There's been public outrage, accountability demands, and collective judgment of those who are in these files. They are going to be wearing a scarlet J for the rest of their time here on Earth. Another key thing about this eclipse is conjunct the natal moon of the United States. And with Uranus squaring it, we are going to be feeling the impact of something. We already know about the Epstein files. The moon represents the people, the public mood, and something's going to impact us emotionally and maybe materially. There could be a new rule, policy, or regulation announcement that collectively brings us a shock. And the eclipse is at 28 degrees. We're at almost the last anaretic degree of the sign, which is 29. We're in the crisis and decay tunnel. As we move through those last degrees of Aquarius, of crisis, of decay, of groups and ideals, then we move to zero Pisces, which have themes of confusion, grief, mourning, disillusionment, emotional overwhelm, empathy overload. And this eclipse also impacts several well-known figures in the country. It's opposite the president and the vice president's ascendant. So something's coming in from outside of them, from a group potentially, that causes them upheaval. They both are having Uranus in their 10th house and squaring their Leo risings. The eclipse is conjunct Kamala Harris's Saturn, so we may get some information about the election of 2024. Uranus rules elections. And Barack Obama, this is in his first house near his south node. And the president has called for arresting Barack Obama. He's already posted a picture that was so offensive. It was unbelievable. That just may be the story. There's big themes of surprises and change. You get proposed to or you trip and fall. Both of those energies are Uranian. There's something sudden that changes the course of where you are going. I love the Wise Skies digital astrology calendar. It puts the astrology right in the palm of your hand. Planetary transits, moon phases, and retrogrades, so you can plan with the cosmos, not against them. I use it to choose the best times for vacations, work projects, launches, and rest days. You'll get clear daily guidance and some links to deeper resources so that you always know what's happening and how to work with it. My collaborator and friend Tiffany Herlick adds more to it each year. Grab the 2026 digital astrology calendar with my coupon code ABC2026 for a $10 discount. The link is in the show notes. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that the day after after, on Wednesday, the sun moves into Pisces for Pisces season from February 18th through March 20th. Pisces is a mutable water sign, so there is this big shift after the eclipse, and it's emotional, porous, and dissolving. It's the part of the zodiac where we're asked to feel our way through rather than rationalize our way through like we were in Aquarius. We have to use our intuition. We have to walk by faith, not by sight. Pisces is ruled traditionally by Jupiter and in modern astrology by Neptune. Jupiter is currently transiting Cancer, another water sign, which heightens the emotional sensitivity and collective concern about safety, homeland security, protection. Neptune, meanwhile, is transiting Aries, which can be confusion, fog, or idealism around action, conflict, or force. One of the stories that stood out for me, I'm recording this on February 11th, which is Wednesday before. On this day, the airspace over El Paso, Texas was closed down by the FAA because of some drone activity by the Mexican cartels, is what the news said. Apparently, they're saying they got this under control. Pisces rules drugs, and that's the cartel's main product. So there could be something going on with some actions against cartels. This fits the astrology with the eclipse in a square with Uranus, which rules aviation, airspace, sudden disruptions, shocks to the system. Now, with Jupiter retrograde, it would be amazing if something like a lost airplane, like the MH370, that Malaysian airliner that just disappeared years ago, if that was found, it's quite possible that when we move from Aquarius into Pisces, the storyline could shift from the airspace systems into Piscean themes like drugs, criminal networks, secret organizations, things that are happening behind the scenes. Substances, escapism could be topics as we move through this time. We're also going to be having a lot of revelations about what went on with these Epstein things. More and more is going to be coming out. Something could come out on Tuesday that has people absolutely shocked about a person who was considered a leader. It's intense and volatile. This is a great time to tend to your emotional and energetic health. I would suggest being mindful about how much time you're spending reading any of this Epstein file stuff, because it's so disturbing that it can be hard for people who are highly sensitive to shake. Grounding yourself can be really helpful, and just the energy is intensified as we have this eclipse. Can you get more rest? Can you create healthy boundaries? Can you do some hygienic cleansing of your energy? So it's a great time to pay attention to your intuition, your dreams, and your emotional responses. Think about what you can let go of that no longer serves you. Take care of yourself and choose what you engage with. All of this is happening for a reason. We need to see what has been hidden. We need to bring these people to account for their horrific actions. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Saturn and Neptune meet at 0 Aries on Friday. This is the biggest transit of the year. The first degree of the first sign of the zodiac. This is a threshold moment. We are going into some kind of new era. Saturn rules structures, institutions, authority, laws, systems. It's destructive, the destroyer, the grim reaper. Neptune dissolves, it erodes boundaries, it blurs, confuses, idealizes, hypnotizes, and sometimes deceives. When these two come together, and they come together every 36 years, last time was 1989 in Capricorn, we often see collapse or redefinition of institutions that once felt solid. The Berlin Wall came down in 1989, and the San Francisco area had an earthquake where a piece of the Bay Bridge collapsed onto the road below it and a freeway collapsed. So we may see literal structures collapsing. And because the conjunction is in Aries, it's not quiet. Aries is about conflict, action, assertion. There can be themes of going your own way. This is a spark that ignites a new cycle. Now, Saturn and Neptune could also be making your dreams come true. Historically, when Saturn and Neptune come together, there's ideological shifts, the rise or fall of belief systems, challenges to religious or moral authority. And it's really important for the United States. This conjunction is happening at our IC, our personal midnight. At the bottom of our chart, there is a very real push to fuse the government with the religious authority, turning us into a Christian nationalist country. And a lot of us are not interested in that, but there's a lot of policies that are being enacted. Saturn, Neptune authority structures fused with belief systems and ideology, the blurring of church and state. I've been calling this transit Black Friday because I believe one of the major stories will be something financial. The U.S. chart, the second house, is ruled by Saturn because Capricorn is on the cusp. This is a Sibley chart. And the second house is money, values, financial instruments. And this can be like the talk of people moving off of the dollar or other countries selling our debt, or just major news about maybe this is when we find out that we're officially in a recession. In the U.S. chart, Aries is on the IC, representing the opposition party, the land, the rebels. And the IC is opposite the MC, which is at the top of the chart. One Libra at the midheaven, one Aries at the IC. And the midheaven represents the president and the executive branch. Because it's happening at the bottom of the chart, not the top, this is not about the executive consolidating power. It's about pushback, limits being imposed on the executive branch. And we're already seeing it. The governor's organization canceled a dinner with the White House and the president because he first disinvited a black governor, then a gay governor, then all Democratic governors. I'm so happy to see that the Republican governors are standing together with the Democratic governors and saying, we'll just cancel the event. Congress has pushed back against the president about his tariffs on Canada. And that included several members from the president's party. Thomas Massie has joined forces with Ro Khanna. Thomas Massie is the Republican, Ro Khanna is the Democrat, and the two of them are leading the charge to get transparency about the Epstein files and what is happening, who the people are involved, and they're naming names. So finally, now that our economy and our country's on the brink, the executive overreach is being challenged. Now, this transit opens a 36-year cycle. I think there's going to be big news on this day, but it's just a starting point. It's going to take years to see how this is fully going to show up. But this is a worldwide transit, so we may be seeing all kinds of themes of authorities coming down. I think there's going to be a revolution somewhere around the world where leaders are taken down. Solar eclipses are known as the king is dead transit. So we'll see which king exits stage right. The theme of the episode is End of Days, and this is the name of a movie that came out in 1999, right before Y2K, when there was a lot of collective anxiety, and we didn't know what was going to happen. Was time going to end? Were systems going to collapse? Was a biblical prophecy going to be fulfilled? The movie is based on Christian end times theology, the idea that as the calendar resets, evil incarnates, institutions fail, and the world teeters on the edge of an apocalypse. And it kind of feels like that's what's happening now. Neptune represents belief, religion, illusion, faith, and mythology. Saturn, on the other hand, represents authority. And in the movie, Saturn shows up as the state, the church, the police, and the systems trying to contain the chaos using force and control. Arnold Schwarzenegger was in this movie, so this also gives themes of a strong man with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, an idealized strong man. This parallel of the movie and this transit is especially relevant because the transit's happening at 0 degrees. It's about new beginnings. 0 is a threshold. But we are just at the end of a chapter, not the end of humanity. This podcast is supported by tools and practices I use myself. One of those is Solar Fire software. Whether you're an astrology hobbyist just exploring charts, an enthusiastic student, or you have a full professional practice, Solar Fire is such a powerful companion. It doesn't just store charts, it animates them. You can move forward or backward in time and watch transits, progressions, and timing techniques unfold in real motion. I customize chart layouts, keep my client notes organized, and run reports I use all the time. It's deep enough for advanced work, but still approachable when you're learning. You can use my code Celeste15 for 15% off at alabe.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is revolting. We have a Moon-Pluto conjunction at 4 Aquarius. People may be becoming aware of something that is really disturbing or disgusting. And then the Sun in Aquarius squares Uranus and Taurus, both at 27 degrees. So the leader of a group could experience upheaval, a reversal. They could crash out, or something shocking comes to light about something they did, like a leader could be caught on film acting in a really disturbing, revolting manner. On Monday, the word of the day is agreement. The moon meets Mars at 19 Aquarius. People may be furious about some kind of agreement. Mercury in Pisces is trine Jupiter in Cancer, both at 15 degrees. So maybe a secret contract, something related to the plans for Gaza could be announced that has people very upset. On Tuesday, the word of the day is hysteria. The moon in Aquarius squares Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus. So this is upheaval for a group of people. And then there's a solar eclipse at 28 Aquarius. What is the new start? What is the big thing that impacts the leader and people? Solar eclipses are also called the king is dead transit. Not that anyone's going to die, but a leader could be taken out. And Venus in Pisces is conjunct the North Node. So that makes me think, and this is at 8 degrees of Pisces, that makes me think of the Board of Peace that the president has put together for people to govern over what's going on in Gaza. The moon enters Pisces at 6:08 a.m. So we have the eclipse, and then something happens, and then the moon goes into Pisces, a water sign. People become emotional, and the moon hits the North Node. It's a group of people. On Wednesday, the word of the day is PARFUM. We have a Venus day where the moon meets Venus at 9 degrees of Pisces. This could be really, really nice, but I get something like people may be smelling something, or maybe there's something to do with the French. And the sun on this day moves from 29 Aquarius to 0 Pisces. There is a spotlight on a group. Aquarius also rules the ankles and the calves, technology, aviation, and it moves to 0 Pisces. So what is the crisis and decay that leads to a new start where our eyes move from the Aquarius to the Pisces? I like the idea of that lost flight being discovered, that lost airplane. But we'll see what happens. There's going to be events around the world. Pisces season then begins at 7:51 a.m. Pacific time. The sun moves into Pisces, spotlighting us on these themes of water, fish, mourning, belief systems. On Thursday, the word of the day is discovery. The Aries moon begins at 11:38 a.m. Pacific time. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's fiery and inspired. So something ended with the moon at 29 Pisces, and then the moon rules to 0 Aries. And there may have been a discovery that people are fired up about. Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be an unsolved mystery coming to light. Like a lost person could be found. And the moon meets Saturn and then Neptune. And there could be, I wrote, a final block collapses of the last domino falls. So this could be about someone, some authority, just barely hanging on by a thread, and then boom, they're done. They can't hold back the tide of what is coming for them. It's a karmic collapse. On Friday, the word of the day is inferno. Saturn and Neptune meet at 0 Aries at 8:53 a.m. Pacific time. This could be whatever was discovered yesterday. People are hopping mad about it. The moon in Aries squares Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, both at 15 degrees. People are confronted with some kind of truth. And then we have a waxing crescent moon at 17 Aries. The sun is in Pisces, the moon is in Aries. People are realizing a leader type figure has been very deceptive, or maybe they're confusing, or maybe they're weak, either frustrated or angry, or some kind of Aries energy is coming out in survival mode, that sort of thing. On Saturday, the word of the day is found. The moon and Chiron meet at 23 degrees of Aries. That can be an emotional wounding or healing for people. The Taurus moon starts at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Taurus is fixed earth, resources, values, pleasure, money may be in focus. This is a big, tremendous week. Do what you can to keep grounded. Everything that's coming out is coming out for a reason. Some of the things are so shocking, it's hard to conceive of what is going on. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I will catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, Please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.